Good evening and welcome to Ask Me Anything About Property Investing. My name is Saj Hussain, and on this live stream, we intend to answer your property investing questions. We're live every Monday at 8:30 p.m. Apologies, running a little bit behind. We've got a slight challenge with the flicker on the screen behind me, so apologies for that in advance. We were just trying to get that resolved. Unfortunately, we were unable to, so we thought, hey, let's just go live. And I'm here every Monday to answer your property investing questions. So if you've got a question around investing in property, then make sure you pop that in the comment section. We're streaming on various different platforms right now. So that's Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. I think that's all the platforms we're on right now. So if you're watching on any of those platforms and you've got a question around investing in property, make sure you pop it in the comment section on whichever platform you're watching on, and we'll do our very best to answer that question. Make sure you don't wait till the very end, because what normally happens, people start firing questions off towards the end, and there's usually not enough time to get them done. So if you've got a burning question, make sure you get it in the comment section nice and early, and we'll do our best to answer that. Also, let me know you can see and hear me okay before we start rambling away and then realize I'm the only one here. Nobody can see and hear me. Just let us know that you can see and hear us okay, and we should be good to go in just a moment. Let's get our first question up then, please, on screen. So our first question is from Jack on YouTube. Hi, Saj. Bro, hope you're in good health. Thank you very much. How do you organize all your tasks, etc.? Do you use Google Calendar, etc.? I'm having major issues with organization, managing work, etc., especially when keep having. Is there more to this?
Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
Keep having setback after setback. My car got smashed into, then 2 properties damaged, roofs, insurance claims, caused a storm, etc. How do you deal with setbacks and come across very calm? So hey, look, there are so many challenges that we're going to face as property investors. It's not going to be a smooth journey, and we should know that before we get started in property investing. And there's going to be things that are going to happen, and there's going to be some days that we just don't want to get out of the bed. We just want to hide in that duvet and think, I just hope it all go away. But it's not going to go away, because we have to deal with it, and we have to take the responsibility for whatever's happened and just step up and deal with whatever those issues and whatever those challenges are. Because ultimately, that's what we're doing as self-employed business people. We're running businesses. Sometimes people think about property investing not as a business. I certainly believe it's a business. It's there. You've got to put in the systems or processes to run that business. And when we start, it's just us. There is no team. There's no lots of people around us running around doing things for us. So we've got to think about how can we take care of and manage all those things. So one of the things I tend to do is the night before, i.e. so for tomorrow morning, this evening, I'd plan out what I need to do tomorrow. And I try and prioritize into tasks. So there's a little bit of a to-do list. And I think about it as A, B, C, D. A being these things are super priority. I've got to get on and get these things done first in the morning. So they're my priority task, and I try not to get distracted. Notifications, emails, all of these things are kind of turned off. So I'm focusing on making sure I get my priority task done without any disturbance or disruptions. Then the priority Bs are the ones I'll jump onto next, as long as I get the A's done. I don't want to do any priority Bs as long as I've got any A tasks to do. The priority C's are generally, this is something that I need to do, but it's not super urgent. It can just bounce from list to list. It's not that key right now, but it's just something I need to attend to at some point. And then I also have a D. That means it's delegate. There's something that I don't necessarily have to do. I can give this task to somebody else to deal with for me. Now, sometimes when as I said, we're starting out, we're on our own. There's nobody else to delegate stuff to. But think about all the people that work with you. Your accountant, your insurance broker, your mortgage broker, your solicitors. All of these people effectively are working with you. They're doing work for you on various different things. And think about what tasks can I push to them to get them to deal with, rather than me having to chase all those things. And as soon as you possibly can, I'd look to see who can you bring on board to help you and make your business easier, whether it's an administrative person, accounts person, a salesperson, whatever it might be in your business that you need, that's ultimately going to be able to help you the most, so you can take those tasks off. And think about tasks in terms of a price point. So is this a task I can pay somebody £10 an hour to do for me? Or is this a task that's much more skilled? Maybe somebody's £100 an hour in terms of them doing that task. Or is it something that's significantly more valuable? Could it be £1,000 task an hour? And you might think, what task is going to generate £1,000 an hour or be worth £1,000 an hour? Well, if you're sourcing property, you're going to sell that deal on. It's about getting those calls done, getting that deal closed, make sure you're moving it along. Those are £1,000 tasks. If you need to negotiate it personally yourself, you're the person responsible for that, then that's a task that you need to do. You're not going to delegate to somebody else. Your accounting, your admin, these are tasks that you could delegate to other people. They could probably do them for you. So I hope that helps. I mean, I could do a whole session on productivity, but it's really about just trying to organize things the best you can with regards to being calm. In terms of being calm, there's no point me getting stressed about these things. It is what it is, and we're going to do our best. Like, for example, I said this evening, just when we're about to start, we start having an issue with the screen flickering on this camera, can't get the refresh rate right. And hey, look, I could be stressed about that, but there's nothing I can do right now about it. So let's just go live. In the same way, there'll be certain things you can't do anything about those in terms of them things happening to you. It's how you react and how you respond to those that's important. So Jamie, hope that helps. I hope that gives you a few pointers there. Let's get our next question on the screen then, please, Khalid. Just whilst he's doing that, if you haven't already, make sure you book onto our next event. Where's the I can't get the down here somewhere on the tiki-toki thing along the bottom. Make sure that you get booked onto next networking event that we've got in January on the 18th. Thank you very much for that. Let's get our next question up. So this is from Jonathan on YouTube. Hi, Saj. Hope your week has started well. So my question goes like this. Let's say I secure a lease option agreement with a landlord to buy the house after 10 years. Then I find a buyer who's willing to buy the house for more than the landlord asks. So how do I profit from that? So Jonathan, that's a great question. So let's say you've got an agreement today to buy the property for £100,000. And then in 5 years' time, you decide, or you find somebody that wants to buy it from you at £120,000. How do you deal with that transaction? How is it that you structure that transaction? There's actually quite a few different ways that it can be done. There's a number of ways that I've done it as well. So one of the ways is, let's say, I can't remember what I just said figure-wise, let's say it's 120,000. So that means it's 20,000 more than what your landlord is going to get, the £100,000. So you could charge £20,000 for your contract, your lease option contract, to be assigned to them. Now, what that means, now they have the right to be able to purchase that property for 100,000 as opposed to your right. This way they get to see that, you're getting 20 grand out of the deal, they're paying 100 grand. And if they're paying cash, sometimes it doesn't really matter in terms of they're quite happy because if they've got control, they can complete the transaction. They're still paying 120,000 pounds for that property. Now, often people are purchasing with mortgages, so that causes a problem, and lenders don't like things like that. So another way to do it is that you manage the sale. So for example, it's more what we call an assisted sale. Now, if you're thinking about doing this, it's really important that you have these terms and conditions built into your contract. For example, it's assignable, that you can do it as an assisted sale, meaning that you can manage the sale on behalf of the owner. So you can complete the sale, i.e. not you manage the sale of that property as opposed to you buying it. You allow somebody else to buy it, but it's at 120,000. And 20,000, that comes to you from the sale once the sale happens and the solicitor's got the 120,000, and the remaining 100,000 goes to the landlord as agreed. So there's quite a few different ways to do it. Generally, good competent solicitors, they can set this up for you, especially ones that have done this many, many times. You just have to be really clear about what is it you want to do. So for example, if you don't necessarily mention that you might allow somebody else to complete on it, which is assignable, or you want to manage the sale at some point, which is an assisted sale. If you don't explain these things, the solicitors might not necessarily include them in the agreement. And later on, when you come to do this, your landlord may not be open to you changing terms of the contract. So Jonathan, hope that helps. So our next question on YouTube is from Naheem. Hi, Saj, what advice do you have to conduct your due diligence before purchasing specific property? Well, Naheem, there's quite a lot of things that you can do when it comes to purchasing the property. But ultimately, first, I'll start with what is it that we're trying to achieve? What goal, outcome are we trying to achieve from the purchase of that property? What I mean by that is it something that we're going to purchase and just put into our buy-to-let portfolio as a single let family house, for example? Is it something we're going to convert to a high-end HMO? Is it something that we're going to renovate and sell on for a profit? So it depends really what the strategy is and what it ultimately we're trying to achieve, because that way we know what type of due diligence that we need to do. Whether you're selling the property or whether you're going to rent it out, whatever shape or form that takes, whether it's a HMO, single let, whatever that might be, ultimately somebody is paying you for that to be able to live in the property, whether it's a sale, as I said, or whether it's rent. So you have to think about who is going to be the person that's going to be in that property and what is it that they want and can you deliver that? So the due diligence you're doing is, are there those kind of people there? Do they want this kind of property from me? What expectations do they have? What do they want there to be? And if you're, for example, so that's your demand for the product effectively that you're creating, as I said, whether it's a sale or whether you're renting it out. So the due diligence you want to do is obviously on the property itself. making sure it's structurally sound. And if you don't have the experience, one of the best things to do is get a surveyor, but that's sometimes can be a cost, and not everybody necessarily wants to pay for upfront, because you don't know what's going to be the outcome of that, whether you're going to purchase it or not. Of course, if a surveyor looks at a property for you, finds lots of problems, and you decide not to buy it, that can be a good investment. Although it's cost you several £100s, it's actually saved you probably tens of thousands of pounds, because if you had purchased it and you didn't know about these problems, you'd be out of pocket. And of course, if you don't necessarily want to use a surveyor, you can use either an experienced property investor, somebody very knowledgeable, know what they're looking for, or maybe even a builder that's going to do some work for you. They will probably know what to look for. And they're certainly not going to be experienced in the same way a surveyor would be, but it depends what you want to find out. If you want to find out the property is structurally sound, there's no issues with it, you're going to strip it all out and renovate it anyway, then that might be what you need, is just a builder to have a look at it for you. Researching of the area as well, in terms of location. There's lots of online portals you can use to understand the social demographics, the makeup of the area. Things like what kind of amenities are nearby, like, shops, schools, these kind of things you'd want to look at. You want to look at the figure that you're paying for the property or looking to pay. How sensible is that? Is that anything close to market value? Are you paying at market value, above market value before? So you do comparables with other similar properties to see what's been sold. Of course, if you're getting a mortgage, the mortgage lender will also have their surveyor come out to have a look at it. And really, they're protecting the lender's interest, and what they're looking to do is make sure the property is structurally sound. It's not going to fall over. There's no major issues with it. It's going to rent for what you think it's going to rent for, if that's what you're going to do. And the value figure, it's roughly what you say it's going to be, and they may not necessarily agree. So there are a few things, but there's so many different things we can do on due diligence. On some of our trainings, we go into a lot more detail in this, in terms of depending on what strategy you're implementing to make sure that you're doing the right type of due diligence. Talking of strategies, in December, I'll be running a workshop where I'm going to be talking more about the strategies that I'm using in 2022 and how we're adapting and evolving some of the things that we've been doing over the last few years, really changing to what stuff we're looking at for 2022. So if you want to learn more about that workshop, make sure maybe Khalid can put a link up for that if he has that. If not, just ping us a message. We can get you details for that. We do have a Cyber Monday special offer running at the moment, of a Black Friday and Cyber Monday for you, where you can spend some time learning from me about that. It's going to be a very small workshop with only 30 people maximum, because our training suite is a nice, small, intimate training suite where we only have 30 people maximum there anyway. And that's where I like it, because that way I get to know people individually, what they're doing. It's great running the larger events, like where we have a couple hundred people at the networking event. But when you're doing training, then it's really important that you know people on a one-to-one basis, where they are and what they're doing. So our training suite only accommodates 30 people. So let's get the next question up then, please, Khalid. This is on Instagram. Hender Fitness. What would you consider to be a low-risk property investment for a beginner to learn and gain experience, not necessarily making large yields or large capital gains? So what I would say with that is, what sort of experience are you ultimately looking to gain from that? So if it's just understanding the process of purchasing, renovating property, then it might be you're just having you're purchasing a property where you can add a little bit of value, freshen up, what I call a light refurbishment, which might be redecorate, new carpets, and then put it back up for sale. You might be making a small profit doing something like that. You're learning the process of acquiring, managing this light kind of works, the sale process. And if you are looking to put a property in a portfolio, or you build up a property portfolio, then it may be just be a simple buy to let that you're doing. Now, sometimes, you could be doing more advanced strategies, HMOs, land developments, new build, lease options. But the thing with this is you have to think about what your strengths are as an individual, your personality, your characteristics. What type of strategy is going to suit you better for the type of person you are? So, a couple of examples that I often give is, if you're somebody that's very extroverted, you're out and about, you're very good with people, you've got those soft skills, engaging people, then you're going to be much better at a client-facing type role. That's speaking to the sellers directly, vendors directly, dealing with landlords directly, with agents, people like that. And if you're somebody more introverted who maybe likes to be behind the computer, doing the analytics and numbers, the research, maybe not so kind of great with people, more tasks and systems oriented kind of person, then you're probably not going to be the best person to go out there and negotiate deals. It doesn't mean you can't learn that and you can't do that, but you're just not really going to be in your natural flow, and you're not going to produce your best results doing that. And sometimes people talk about, look, hey, focus on the things you're not good at to be better at those. My view is you should focus on the things you're good at to be outstanding at those, not just be good at and better at the stuff you're not good at. Be absolutely brilliant at the stuff you're already good at, so you can really excel in that, and then get other people to do the other things for you. So the reason I share that is it's about really matching strategies. What is it you're trying to achieve? What you're trying to learn? Where is it you're trying to get to? That's really important. But the simplest way would be like a flip property or a single buy to let would give you some of the basic understanding of doing that. And you could also be working with somebody more experienced as well, doing something a little bit more advanced. If you're dipping your toes into this type of a strategy, I'd say, look, it's not easy. Just as I started at the beginning, I was speaking to, I think, Jamie's question. Look, this property business is a headache, but the rewards for this headache are massive. So you have to be prepared to deal with issues and the challenges that come with property. And if people tell you property is easy, they are telling you a load of nonsense. They're spinning you a line. Property is hard work, but the results are amazing in terms of what's possible, what you can achieve. But you've got to put the graft in. You've got to be prepared to do that. So I hope that helps a little bit, but I think that was on Instagram. The question was asked over here. So next question from Jamie on YouTube. Hi, Saj. I'm acquiring a rundown property in a booming market. I know the agent will set a high asking price because of the area. How can I be sure I'm not overpaying for an expensive project? So I'd say, Jamie, in this market where prices are quite high and, as you call it, a booming market where there's plenty of demand, there's plenty of people waiting to buy property, there's a huge amount of cash around, borrowing is at very low rates right now. So there's plenty of appetite for people to want to go out and buy property. So when you're looking for a renovation, a flip type of project where you're going to buy, add some value and sell it on, and often what will happen in this kind of market, the prices start rising for that type of property because there's plenty of people looking for that type of project to do. And it can almost be a case of by the time you've purchased it, you've renovated, you've sold it, there's no profit left in it because you paid so much to purchase it in the first place. Your selling price is limited to what you can achieve because what it's worth. Your refurb is going to be set at what that is. The only thing that there's a variable on is what you pay for the property in the first place. So if you're overpaying, you are killing your profit ultimately. So sometimes it's better, I believe, not to do a deal than do a deal for the sake of doing a deal because you ain't going to really make any money out of it. So how can you be sure you're not overpaying? Well, you've got to be confident on what your end value is going to be, i.e. what you're going to sell it for, what you think you're going to sell it for, and be realistic. Don't think, well, if I do it really nice, I might get another 5 grand or 10 grand. Try and be realistic with the numbers, be conservative in what you might be able to achieve. Be conservative also with your costs for the works that you need to do on the property, your holding cost, stamp duty, all these things you need to factor in as well. How much money needs to be spent over and above the purchase price on that particular property. Obviously, things like your stamp duty and council tax, all those things are already set. And your labor costs, your material costs may be higher right now, as a lot of people are experiencing. So bear that in mind as well. And when you do those numbers, then the last thing is how much profit ultimately you want to make. What is it you're comfortable with the amount of work that you're going to have to do to get that deal? And whatever that figure is, and that's the way we look at it, and we'll say if it's less than this, it's not really worth us getting involved. And we just stick to that figure. And we're not prepared to pay beyond that because it's just not really worth it. And it may be you feel like you're missing out on deals, but my view is you haven't missed out on a deal because it wasn't a deal in the first place. Somebody's prepared to pay more for it, so it wasn't a deal for you because it's not worth your while, not worth your effort. And don't compete with other people because you don't know what they're doing. Somebody might purchase as a home. Somebody might be completely incompetent in terms of an investor. They don't really know what they're doing and they're going to mess the whole thing up. And other times people might be doing, what we term as hospital jobs. For example, a builder might purchase a property that they're going to renovate in their spare time. Their costs are going to be significantly lower because they're putting the hours in themselves. So you can't really compare and compete with other people. You've just got to work out what figures are right for you, what you're prepared to pay, and that's it. You stick to that. And if it doesn't achieve that, you move on. The same thing when you're looking at auctions as well. For those that are a little bit more experienced, I wouldn't suggest looking at auctions as a newbie. But if you're a little bit more experienced, again, you draw a line at what figure you're prepared to pay, and it goes beyond that. That's it. That's not for you. And of course, making sure you build good relationships with the agents, so at least you get a little bit ahead of the queue in terms of the possibility of being able to negotiate something rather than number 57 in the queue that they ring up to say, hey, we've got a property, you want to come and have a look at it. Let's get the next question up even, Khalid. So this one's on TikTok from Paul. How do I change a buy-to-let to a serviced accommodation? So I'm guessing what you're asking is the mortgage. How do you change the mortgage? In terms of the use of the property, you're changing what you're doing with the property rather than it being a family or a single let. Essentially, you're changing it to short stay. Now, the change of mortgage would really be a consent from your lender. So whoever your mortgage provider is, you're going back to ask them whether you can change its you can change what you're doing with the property. Sometimes they allow you to do this in the short term. Other times it's a blanket no, that's not what this mortgage is for. You need to get a different mortgage product. And also bear in mind as well, things like planning permission, whether you've got the right types of planning in place for certain types of property. So our next question, when you're ready, Khalid.
Yeah, 1 second, please.
So just whilst he's doing that, make sure you book yourself in for our January event, which is our networking event. We don't do an event in December in terms of networking, but then throughout the year, we'll have the events, just August and December, 2 months of the year, we don't run the events. We have 200 people at our launch event. It's a great opportunity to network, meet like-minded people, learn from each other as well. In January, I'm going to be doing a deep dive session on how to make it your best year yet. So make sure you get booked onto that. I've got an amazing speaker as well that I don't want to announce just yet, but it's coming soon, the details. As soon as we've got the I's, dots, and the T's crossed on the contract, then we'll be announcing our guest speaker as well. But as I said, I'll be doing a deep dive session as well about making it your best year in property. So make sure you book on that nice and early. Don't leave it last minute. Tickets will sell out as they always have done in all our previous events. And you don't want to be the person messaging us on the day or the day before, have you got any tickets left? Because the answer is going to be no, they're all gone. So next question's on Instagram from Sharon. Can you tell us about the events that are coming up so we can buy tickets? Yes, so the next event that we have coming up is not that one that's on the screen, which is the... so Khalid's going to share at the moment. Yes, so this is the Smart Investor Strategy Workshop. So this is on December the 11th. This workshop. There's another date as well. In case you can't make that, just reach out to us. Let us know that you want a ticket, but you can't make that date. Where I'm really going to be sharing the strategies that I'm doing in 2022. How we're changing from what we've been doing to what we will be doing going forward. And I'll be sharing those strategies and why we're doing that as well, giving an opportunity to learn from us there. And we've got a special Cyber Monday deal on that. So use that link and make sure you get booked in with that. It's a nominal amount really for that. Then the next event after that is in January, which is our property networking event, which is the link that you saw earlier on.
The same users asking about the networking event.
So the networking event, if you click over to the other link, please, Khalid, that's this one, sajhussain.com/networking. That's January the 18th is the next event for their tickets are already selling for that, so you can book your place onto that. If you want to spend a little bit more time with me on a more personal basis, there's an opportunity to buy a VIP ticket, which means not only are you at the front of the room, but also we go for dinner straight after the event as well. And it's a very small group of people that will go to the event, usually about 10 people at that event afterwards for the dinner. So you can book on for that as a choice of ticket option as well. Erkand on YouTube. What are the initial financial methods for Muslim real estate entrepreneurs who do not want to engage in riba, interest? So the question essentially is, how can you buy property without being involved in any form of bank interest? Now, there's a few different ways that you can get involved in property. And ultimately, when you're buying property, you need funds. You need money from somewhere to be able to purchase a property. So how do you get those funds? And the way I built the business, the way I started, is I partnered with other people. So it's other people's money I was using to build the business. And that's something I still do today. I still work with investors who fund deals, who invest with me. So that's the one way you can do that. Effectively, you partner with a number of other people. They put the money into the project. You share the risk, you share the reward on that deal. Now, that may not be easy depending on where you are in the country. For example, if you're in London, it could be several £100,000 you're trying to get together just to purchase an apartment. It could be that you're in one of the northern cheaper towns where it might be like £40,000-50,000 to still purchase a property there. So it's really about partnering with other people using other people's money. So that's one option. The second option is you are using bank lending, but you're using some of the ones that are more Sharia compliant in terms of how they are structured. There's not massive amounts of choice, but there's a little bit of choice, and there's more products coming as well, from what I'm aware of, into the marketplace to compete in this sector. So they're set up in a slightly different way. It's a little bit like a profit share the way they're set up. They're an alternative to a mortgage. And the third option is my preferred method. If someone's just getting started, they haven't got access to money, is rather than owning the property, think about controlling property. When you control property, ultimately what you're able to do is get the benefits and the rewards from property without having to pay out for the purchase. So what does that mean? Let's say, for example, we took an office building like this, and there were, say, 10 rooms here, and each of those 10 rooms are usable individually. And let's say I go to the landlord, I agree a figure with them, and I take a lease on the property. And then what I'm doing, I'm letting out the individual units to generate more income than I'm paying the landlord. Basically a classic rent-to-rent type concept where you're taking on a property at one price, you're re-letting it at a higher price, probably because you've got multiple units, and you're making money between that. So that's just a rent-to-rent concept, for example. But then there could be lease options, option contracts. A lease option could be, I've got the lease, but I've also got the right to buy the property at some point in the future. I agree a price today, and at a future point, I can purchase that property, but I don't need to purchase it. As we answered in one of the earlier questions today, I can sell that right to somebody else. So I can still sell the property without even owning the property, which is an assisted sale. All of these are what I call creative control concepts. And what that does, these are ways to control property, to make money from it without necessarily purchasing the property. So I hope that gives you a few ideas there. I've got, I think I've done a video on YouTube. I'll talk about it in a bit more detail as well. So make sure you have a look at that.
No relation.
So we've got Abbas Ali Kareem. So on Facebook, hello Saj, great advice. Basic question, is flipping properties still beneficial in the current climate? So Abbas, flipping properties is always beneficial as long as there's a profit. It comes back to a little bit about what we were talking about earlier on. You have to do your numbers first to see if it's viable. So yes, you can still purchase property and renovate it and sell it for a profit even, but it's much more harder to do than, say, let's say 5 years ago when the deals were a little bit more common. In the market right now, the way it is, it's buoyant, it's quite strong. There's a lot of cash around. Borrowing is quite easy. Interest rates are very low. All of these things push up the demand. And when the demand is quite high, that pushes prices up. Basic supply and demand, which means that you often are paying too much to buy the property. So I covered the question in a little bit more detail earlier on. So make sure if you missed it, you can jump on the recording afterwards. This video will stay up on YouTube. You can go back to it and listen to it there, where I'm saying you need to understand the end price, how much you're going to spend on it, your profit margin, and what's the maximum you can pay for the property. So next question from Abdul on YouTube. Hi Saj, I'm in my 40s. I want to build something for my children's future. Do you recommend starting buy to let now or wait until my mortgage is paid off in 8 years' time? So Abdul, I think the best time to start property investing was probably about 20 years ago. But the next best time is right now, today. And the reason I say that is we're going to look back in 3 years, 5 years, 10 years' time. We'll look back and say, wow, the prices were so low at that time. And you know what, they were just earlier on, just before this session, I had a session with my inner circle, my mentoring group, and we were talking about one of the members who'd had a property 20 years ago for £55,000, and today it's worth £500,000. So in 20 years, the price is 10 times what it was over that period of time. Now, not every property you purchase is going to go up in value in that way. But when we get involved in property, one of the main reasons we invest in property and we build a portfolio is because our belief is long-term, over time, the prices just rise, they rise, they rise. Now, there will be occasions where there's dips, there's crashes, as we've seen and we've experienced, but over the long term, prices just continue to rise. So your capital value will be significantly higher than it might be today. So the best time to start, I believe, is right now. It's never too late to start. I was 30, my late 30s when I got started in property. Prior to that, I ran a business in IT. I've always worked for myself. Now, when I got started, I got quite easily said, well, it's a bit late. I'm not sure where I should be starting. I struggled for the first 2 years, really struggled trying to get any kind of success in property because I was trying to do so many different things. The key thing is get clear on what you want to do, why you want to do it in terms of what outcome you're trying to achieve, then how you're going to do it, and then stay focused, put the blinkers on and just focus on doing that strategy, and you'll build up the success that you want from that business. So Abdul, hope that helps. So our next question is a Grilla investor on YouTube. Hi Saj, if the market crashes, how would you go about getting purchase lease option deals? Do you deal source? So yes, we do deal source. We've been deal sourcing 12, 13 years now, but primarily we deal source for ourselves. That means every day we're out there, we're looking for deals, we're viewing stuff, we're negotiating on things, we're following up on previous leads. So we're sourcing all the time. We're just not sourcing for other people. Now, that might change in the coming weeks and months because we're just putting some things together right now, because I think there'll be some good opportunities to be able to source deals for other people. So we might start doing more of that. But right now, we only source for ourselves. Just flash the question back up for me again, please, Khalid. Now, in terms of, I think you said if the market crashes, in terms of how would I getting purchase lease option. Okay, thank you, Khalid. So with purchase lease options, some of the best deals I did about 30 plus deals when I was doing lease options actively. And what I was focusing on were people that couldn't sell their property. They couldn't sell their property because the market had crashed, the values had fallen, there were fewer buyers, the opposite from what's happening right now in the marketplace. It was literally a complete kind of shift from where we are right now. Right now, we've got lots of cash, lots of buyers, not enough deals. At that time, there was very little cash, very few buyers, and low prices. So what I was doing is either going in, securing the deal and agreeing a price and selling that deal on somebody else, or on a lease option, what I was doing is agreeing to take over the debt on that property and then complete on that transaction at some point in the future. Now, some of those properties made 50 grand, 70 grand, even £100,000 we've made from properties we never even owned, just because we took control of them, we took the slight risk at that time to making sure that we could ride through that time. And then over time, as the price recovered, they increased, we sold those properties, exited out of those particular transactions. So when somebody, for example, is in negative equity and they need to get away from the property, remember, it's the property they're trying to get away. When they say they were trying to get away from the property, what they're saying is they're trying to get away from the debt, that they want to get out of the monthly payments that they're committed to. They can't sell the property because it's worth less than what they paid for it, for example, or the mortgage is more than what they're trying to sell for it. So they just want to get away from that situation. So you can structure deals quite easily in terms of lease options in that situation. You've just got to make sure that you don't make their problem your problem. So some problems you inherit and you can't fix. You've got to make sure and be skilled at making that deal workable for you so you can sit on it, cash flow it, and make the capital growth over the long term on it. So that's how I did that, and we're doing more. We'll be running some more training on these type of concepts, what we call creative control concepts, in the coming months. Make sure you reach out to us if you're interested in learning more about those for some training. So the next question's on TikTok. Big Ramy, after a survey, how long does the procedure take? So I guess that's a little bit vague. Maybe I don't really have enough information. So when, for example, a bank sends a surveyor to go out and do a survey on a property for you, often the surveyor, the reality, they don't have a lot of time. They nip out, they might have done a bit of due diligence beforehand, they have a quick look at the property. They might even be in the property if it's a regular survey, maybe 15, 20 minutes sometimes. They're not there very long. They just want to make sure that the property is not going to fall down. They can do some comparables, which would probably be a desk exercise, and really just feed back that information to the lender, write a simple report, usually a couple of pages. And that they can do quite quickly. They can probably do it within the day, but it depends on how busy they are, how many they're doing. It might take a little bit of time before they get back to the lender. The lender might be doing some administration. The lender might have some administration that they need to do as well before the information makes its way back through your broker to you. So if you are using a broker, I'd just check with them, ask them what the current timelines are. And if you're working with the lender directly, just check with them. If it's a surveyor that you've appointed, even before you appoint them, you can ask them how long they'll take. Because some of these things, they can turn around quite quickly for you because they're not doing in-depth surveys most of the time. So I hope that helps. Hope that answers your question. I'd love for you to come and join me at some of our live events that we're doing, as we gave a couple of details earlier on. The one on 11th of December, where I'm sharing strategies that I'll be doing next year. You can book yourself onto that. We've got a special deal right now for Cyber Monday. And then our January networking event. Again, make sure you book onto that. We had 200 people at the last event. That's our capacity at that venue. And I'm sure those tickets are going to sell out before the event. So don't leave it last minute. Book your ticket now. And you can also book a VIP ticket, which means you can join me for dinner afterwards, and usually only a small number of those, just in a small room like this that we have dinner in afterwards. So we can spend a little more time doing that. So have you got another question? I thought that was our last question.
No.
Are you still, sorry, this is for Nora on YouTube. Are you still doing a workshop in January for newbie property investors? So January, we do have a date in January. I can't remember what date that is from memory. But Is it? I'm not sure what the date is. If that's the date, Callie just says 22nd. But if you ping us a message in the office, then we'll be able to let you know when that is. Was that the last question? Oh, we've got the last question now about to flash up on the screen. So we're running a little bit later today. So those who are still here, thank you so much. So Murtaza on YouTube, hello, what is the mentor group and how does one join? So I have a mentoring program that I run, which is called the Inner Circle. So the mentoring program is really support. It's about supporting you in the implementation. This is the link Khalid just put on the screen, kind of like this way-ish. Where you can get some more details on that, and it's really about supporting you in implementing a specific strategy that we plan out at the beginning for you, implementing and supporting you over the 12 months in you implementing that strategy to get the results that you're looking for. This is not for everybody, this program. For some people, they just need the knowledge in terms of how to do things. I'd encourage you to come to our training events. There you can learn about property investing. The mentoring group is really for those that are looking for support. They've got some knowledge they want to go out and implement. If you're brand new, then mentoring is not the place to start. You want to join us on our courses. So that just leads me to say thank you so much for taking your time out, for being here with me on a Monday evening. I know there's so many other things you could be doing, but I appreciate you being here. Hopefully you find this useful as well. And I'll be back here next Monday at 8:30 p.m. Thank you very much.